what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. My name is Tom. I am your host. Today is Sunday, May the 5th, 2019, and I am streaming live on Twitch. So welcome to everybody who's checking out the show live. And thanks to everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and right here on Twitch. And going forward, I think I'm going to be doing the show live on Twitch every Sunday. So anybody who is a subscriber on Twitch will get to see and hear the show before anybody else. But after the live stream, it will be going up on all of the usual podcasting platforms. So just search Catch, Hook, and Shoot. You'll be able to find it pretty much anywhere you find your podcasts. And thanks to everybody for following on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, now also on LinkedIn. Any one of those, just search Catch, Hook, Shoot. You'll be able to find it. And I got a couple of announcements to make this week. First of all, I have just started a Patreon page for the show. It's patreon.com/catchhookshoot. So hopefully some of you guys will go over there and check that out and maybe become Patreon subscribers. We've got 4 different tiers with different benefits to each one. I'll go through those real quick right now. The first one is a $1 tier, so $1 a month. You will get a Catch, Hook, and Shoot button with the show logo on it. And you'll also get access to a bonus episode once a month, which will be a profile of a different wrestler, and it'll mostly be like older wrestlers, maybe some that you haven't heard of or haven't heard of in a long time. I'm going to try to stay away from like current stars, because with social media and everything, it's pretty easy to follow their everyday lives, so there's not too much that isn't known about the current crop of wrestlers out there. So it will most likely be somebody a little from past eras, things like that. The second tier is a $5 tier. You get the same benefits as the first tier, the CHS button and the 1 bonus episode. And in addition to that, you'll also get a Catch, Hook, and Shoot silicone wristband, and you get a second bonus episode with the history of a championship. Again, I'll want to try to keep it a little bit more of the lesser known championships, or some that aren't around anymore from some of the older territories and things like that. The third tier is a $10 tier. You get all the benefits from the first 2 tiers, and you will also get a Catch, Hook, and Shoot sticker, plus a third bonus episode on the history of a territory, so like World Class or Mid-Atlantic or Mid-South, something along those lines. And the fourth and final tier is the $20 tier. In addition to everything on the previous tiers, you will get a Catch, Hook, and Shoot t-shirt, which will be exclusive to Patreon subscribers, and you'll get a 4th bonus episode on the topic of your choice. Now, if there's multiple subscribers to this tier, basically I'm going to be doing 1 bonus episode from each category every month. So if there's multiple subscribers that get to choose episodes, they'll basically be recorded in the order that the people joined the Patreon page. So first person to join gets their choice that first month. If there's say three members in that tier, for example, first person to join will have the first month's bonus episode, the second one will get the following month, and the third one the following month, and so on like that. So go over, check that out. It's patreon.com/catchhookshoot. Join one of the tiers, get some CHS merchandise. Like I said, the t-shirt for the fourth tier is exclusive to Patreon members. It won't be available anywhere else. And any money that is put into the Patreon page will go back into the show for upgrades in equipment and getting out to shows and conventions, things like that, to get more content for the show. Next announcement is that I have started a store at Pro Wrestling Tees. It's not up yet. I'm waiting for the t-shirt designs to get approved by the Pro Wrestling Tees staff. But once it's active, it will be prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot. Uploaded 4 designs, so once they get approved, you'll be able to see those. I think they're pretty cool looking designs. So hopefully you guys go check that out. They're all priced at $19.99, which is the lowest price point you can get for Pro Wrestling Tees. So head on over there, check those out. And as always, if anybody ever wants to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. And I want to make mention that I will be on the Wrestling Behind Ringside podcast, which actually dropped yesterday. On there talking to Cowboy Archie Coughlin, just talking some wrestling. It was a fun interview. So hopefully you guys will head over to Wrestling Behind Ringside to check that out. It's available on Podbean and on Apple Podcasts. So going over to check that out. Of course, Cowboy Archie was on Catch Hook and Shoot a few weeks ago, and so I now I've made an appearance on his podcast, and it was fun, fun talk. So head on over there, check it out. And also talking about Wrestling Behind Ringside, they will have their Hall of Fame induction episode coming up in the next few weeks. I will be a part of that as well, doing some of the inductions. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag about which ones or anything like that, but yeah, that will be coming up in the next few weeks, so definitely make sure you check that out. And some more information for Wrestling Behind Ringside. I spoke to Archie earlier this week, and he will be putting on a Wrestling Behind Ringside Fan Fest coming up next July. That's July of 2020, the weekend of July the 25th. So head on over to WrestlingBehindRingside.com for some info on that. He's told me some of the people that he's gotten booked for it and is trying to get booked for it, and it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, I'll be down there for it. It will be taking place down in Hammond, Louisiana, where Archie is from, and it should be a great time. So definitely, like I said, check that out. It's WrestlingBehindRingside.com for the information on that. Now coming up next weekend is Warrior Wrestling 5, and the event is called Mayhem, M-A-Y, as in this month, -H-E-M. And that will be on May 12th, 2019 at Marian Catholic High School in Chicago Heights. Yeah, I know I've talked about their last event, Warrior Wrestling 4, that I was at. They put on a fantastic show. They get some really, really big indie names taking part in it, and it goes to benefit Marian Catholic High School, where the events are held at. And it's warriorwrestling.net for your tickets. And Catch Hook and Shoot will be part of the Fan Fest prior to the event starting at noon. Tickets for the Fan Fest are $25, and that includes any of your photo ops, autographs, things like that. Of course, any merchandise that the wrestlers bring, like T-shirts, things like that, obviously are going to cost extra. But photo ops and autographs are covered in that $25 price for the Fan Fest, so you're not going to find a better deal than that for meet and greets and things of that nature. Bell time for the event is 2 p.m. and the general admission tickets start at $30. So it's a family friendly event. It's like I said, a great time, and just a cool day out for the weekend if you're a wrestling fan. Now the matches that are going to be taking place on the card are going to be they're going to be crowning their first ever Warrior Wrestling Women's Champion. The match is going to be Tessa Blanchard versus Jordan Grace, with Molly Holly as the special referee. So this should be, Jordan Grace and Tessa, no strangers to each other. We've seen them wrestle on Impact and literally all over the world. They've been opponents, they've been partners, so it's definitely going to be a fantastic match there. Yeah, the Lucha Brothers will be there. Eddie Edwards versus Austin Aries in a steel cage match. Brian Cage, who is the Warrior Wrestling Champion, will be defending his championship against Wardlow. Brian Pillman Jr. versus the Ego Robert Anthony, with Frank the Clown in his corner. Those of you who aren't familiar with Frank the Clown, he was actually part of Mick Foley's reality show on the WWE Network. And this match is a hair versus clown match. If Brian Pillman Jr. loses, he gets his mullet cut in the middle of the ring. But if he wins, he gets 5 minutes alone in the ring with Frank the Clown. So that should be entertaining. There's also going to be an appearance from Filthy Tom Lawler, a tag team called the Space Pirates. Now, I wasn't too familiar with these guys, but I did see them on Warrior Wrestling 4, and they are a very entertaining team. They're taking on another tag team called the Ugly Ducklings. So it should be a great card, some great indie talent, and it'll just, like I said, it's just a really, really good time. So if you're in Chicago, we're going to be in Chicago next weekend. It's next Sunday, May the 12th, which is Mother's Day at Marian Catholic High School, and again, it's warriorwrestling.net for your tickets. $25 for the Fan Fest. It starts at noon, and general admission tickets for the event, which starts at 2 p.m. General admission tickets start at $30. So come on out and check it out. Stop by the Catch Hook and Shoot table, get some get some swag. I've got a couple things I'm gonna be taking out there to give out. I'm not gonna be charging for it. It's gonna, mostly just to help promote the show. So, feel free to come by, grab some stuff, and say hi, have a little cameo on the show. I'm going to be recording some content there, hoping to get some interviews and talk to the fans as well, get their thoughts on the show and the matchups that are going on. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope to see some of you guys out there. So let's get into what's going on in the world of wrestling this week. Yeah, first of all, with Raw and SmackDown, both the Money in the Bank ladder matches have been set. On the Raw side for the men, we've got Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Ricochet. And on the SmackDown side for the men, we've got Ali, Finn Balor, Andrade, and Randy Orton. So an interesting field for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Yeah, if I had to pick a winner right now, I would say either McIntyre or Finn Balor, but I think probably McIntyre is the more likely of those. But I'm sure it'll shake out, and we'll be able to get a clearer picture of who the favorite is over the next couple weeks. On the women's side for Raw, we've got Natalya, Dana Brooke, Naomi, and Alexa Bliss. Dana Brooke, a little bit of a surprise, but it looks like she's starting to get a little bit of a push. She was kind of in the background there for a long time and had been relegated almost to like an enhancement talent, but has been vocal about wanting more of an opportunity, and fans have been behind her, especially on social media. So it looks like she's starting to get a little bit of a push. I'm not gonna make too much out of it at this point, but being in the women's main event for this pay-per-view is definitely a step up for her. So good luck to Dana Brooke. I think it'd be awesome if she actually won the thing. It would definitely be unexpected and I think a very welcome surprise. On the SmackDown side, we've got Bayley, Mandy Rose, Ember Moon, and Carmella. I think Ember Moon would be probably a favorite in this one. Just recently came back from an injury. So I think pushing her into the title picture would be a big boost for her. She's definitely worthy of the opportunity, so I'm hoping to see a good showing from Ember Moon. So that's probably my two at this point. My two favorites would be Dana Brooke and Ember Moon. Some tag team news. It looks like the Authors of Pain are getting ready to come back. Of course, they've been kind of on the shelf with an injury to, I believe it was Akam, who was injured. So and they haven't been using Rezar in a singles capacity, so he's just kind of been sitting out, waiting for Akam to come back. So looks like Akam's been cleared, and the rumors that I was reading is that they could come back as early as this week. Some more information, or not information, but we had another vignette for Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse. Saw the introduction of another character, Rambling Rabbit. So I'm, curious to see if there are going to be counterparts to these characters. Wrestler counterparts when Bray returns to the ring. Of course, the rumors that were going around is that Mercy the Buzzard was going to be Eric Young, and Abby the Witch is going to be Nikki Cross. I'm curious to see who Rambling Rabbit might be. Could it possibly be maybe Luke Harper, who's been expressing some displeasure with WWE, requested his release, got denied, and they actually extended his contract 6 months to compensate for the time he was out with an injury. So I'm excited to see Bray make his in-ring comeback and see how all this plays out on the the wrestling side of it, how it's gonna kind of transition from the vignettes to the ring. Looks like another match for Money in the Bank is going to be Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a steel cage. So yeah, they're really playing this rivalry out between Shane and The Miz, and it's becoming, or has become, a pretty good rivalry. They had a fantastic match at WrestleMania, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do inside of a steel cage. And for the Universal Championship, we had the contract signing this past week between AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. Yeah, it looks like AJ might be playing a little bit of the heel role in this scenario here. He, kind of sucker punched Seth during the contract signing and that kind of stuff. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go. I like AJ Styles as a heel. He's one that can play the heel or the babyface pretty well. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go. I like the fact that they're keeping AJ in the main event role, and the Universal title has kind of become the top championship right now. I know a lot of fans are not happy about that. They think the WWE title should be the top title, what was known as the World Heavyweight title at one point. Now it's just the WWE Championship. But I'm kind of with that same school of thinking that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship should be the top title. It's the original, number one championship in the company. But the Universal title has been elevated to at least in theory, the same level. So, but yeah, I like the fact that AJ is in that main title picture on Raw, wasn't just kind of put on a lower echelon, so to speak. Yeah, talking about getting back to the tag team issue with AOP returning, the SmackDown tag team titles right now are vacant. Jeff Hardy had to basically relinquish his half of that championship this past week due to a knee injury that required surgery. And so the Hardy Boys no longer SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and Shane McMahon is supposed to name new champions this week on SmackDown. So I'm wondering where AOP is going to land. Are they going to land on the SmackDown side or the Raw side? Now, they were on Raw prior to Akam's injury, so it'd be interesting to see, because the SmackDown tag team picture, could use a boost. I mean, they broke up Sheamus and Cesaro, which was one of the top teams there. The Usos moved over to Raw, so they're left with basically Heavy Machinery, the B Team, the New Day, and Miz and Elias now apparently are I don't know if you would call them a tag team, but potentially they could. I think there's kind of a feeling that Miz will probably give the championship to himself and whoever his partner may be, which it looks like it would probably be Elias. So we'll have to see how that kind of plays out. Some news about Raw. Roman Reigns went on social media this week and was saying he's got quote-unquote unfinished business on Raw, and he's going to be making an appearance there. And then the WWE's Twitter page came back and said, WWE officials have said Roman Reigns will not be on Raw, and then Roman came back, said, just, basically have my music queued up because I'm opening the show. So I don't know if this is something to try to kind of get a ratings boost, because the Raw ratings, WWE ratings in general, have kind of been on a steady decline the last few weeks, well, longer than that actually, but they actually dipped below 2 million viewers this past week, which is, as far as WWE goes, kind of unheard of with Raw. So I'm thinking that's probably what it is to try to get, drum up some interest and get some more eyes on the product. And it looks like the Superstar shakeup is still going on. The rumor is that Killian Dane from Sanity is going to be going back to NXT, which good for him. I mean, he's actually going to be able to work in NXT. We didn't really see much of Sanity at all when they were brought up to the main roster. Now Eric Young is part of Raw, and Alexander Wolf is with NXT UK, and that kind of leaves Killian Dane on his own. So I think the move back to NXT is definitely a good one for him. Nikki Cross never really was part of Sanity on the main roster. She's just pretty much been on her own. Another superstar looks like is being moved back to NXT is Tyler Breeze, which again, it's great for him. He was huge in NXT, and I don't think his popularity ever really translated to the main roster. Now he, was gaining some momentum there as part of the tag team with Fandango as Breezango, or the Fashion Police, whatever you want to call them. They were, a great entertaining tag team, and they're both good in the ring and good on promos. It's just like I said, the success from NXT I don't think ever really translated to the main roster, and I don't think that's through any fault of Tyler Breeze or Fandango. I think it was just I think creative didn't know what to do with them, I think is really the issue. Another part of the Superstar shakeup, it looks like the Singh brothers have been moved to 205 Live, so it would appear they're no longer the managers or seconds or whatever you want to call them for yeah, and of course the name is slipping my mind now, former World Heavyweight Champion. But anyway, yeah, the Singh brothers made their first appearance on 205 Live in quite a while as a tag team. It looks like they're back to their Bollywood Boys gimmick. Of course, they're still calling them the Singh brothers, but their ring gear and personality is basically back to their Bollywood Boys gimmick from prior to their WWE days. Some interesting news regarding the Saudi Arabia show coming up on June the 7th is that WWE assigned Goldberg to appear there. Now, they haven't said who his opponent is going to be as of yet, and there was speculation that he's going to be facing Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. I know Bobby Lashley made a comment about it on social media, so now there's speculation that could be facing Bobby Lashley, which I think would be an interesting matchup. So we'll have to wait and see what capacity is going to be in there. But by all accounts, this is just like a one-off appearance because the Saudi royal family requested it. It's been widely said, they're big fans of kind of the old school Attitude Era wrestlers. That's why you always see the Undertaker making appearances in Saudi Arabia. You see Triple H wrestling on all the Saudi Arabia shows, and actually got Shawn Michaels to come out of retirement for the last one. So pretty much the same with Goldberg for this one. By all accounts, like I said, it is a one-off appearance. Of course, there's rumors and speculation going around that WWE is doing this to keep him away from AEW. I don't know how much stock I put in that. I mean, yeah, I know WWE is aware of AEW, obviously, and I don't know if they're scared of AEW. I think that's a bit presumptive. I mean, they're not. AEW is not going to put WWE out of business, folks. It's never going to happen. I think they're going to present a great alternative to WWE and definitely eventually some competition for WWE for viewership. They have the money behind them, they have the right management in place, and they have the talent so far to be a viable alternative and viable competition for WWE. But for people to say WWE is scared, I think, like I said, is a bit presumptive. Yes, there are people who have left WWE and signed with AEW. Chris Jericho, obviously the biggest name so far for that, because Jericho is predominantly identified as a WWE guy, but he didn't request a release from WWE in order to sign with them or anything like that. Jericho was a free agent. He was not under contract to anybody, and AEW made him an offer that suited his needs, monetarily, creatively, and things like that, and he accepted it. I mean, it is what it is. He made a smart business move. He went with the company that made him the best offer that suited what he needed and what he wanted the best. It's as simple as that. So while, yes, I know WWE is aware of it, I don't think they're afraid, but they're not going to just allow people to up and leave either. Now, do I think that's 100% fair on their part? No, I don't. I mean, should Luke Harper have been granted his release? Yeah, I think he should have. I mean, you're basically paying this guy his downside guarantee and extended his contract 6 months longer than it was originally written for, basically just to have him, sit on the sidelines because you don't want him showing up at another company. Same thing with the Revival. They refused to, release them from their contracts, and, are now basically turning them into kind of a comedy act because supposedly the Revival turned down 5-year contracts for $500,000 a year each. Now that is some hefty money for them to turn down, but if they're turning it down, they obviously think they can, equal or better that on their own, which in today's day and age of wrestling and the way the independent scene is, and with AEW out there and companies like Ring of Honor and New Japan, things like that, it's entirely possible. So supposedly the Revival contracts are up in this fall, I believe. I believe the word that I read was September, but that's unconfirmed. I mean, it's not like you can go look up WWE contracts. It's not public information or anything like that. So, but yeah, by all accounts, come this fall, the Revival will be done with WWE, and that's kind of why they're being put in the position that they're in on television now, as kind of a comedy act and things like that. So, it is what it is. It's just what WWE does when guys are on the way out, for the most part. So we'll have to see where the Revival lands. Some other interesting news along the same lines is that the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson, turned down similar deals for contract extensions, and their contracts, I believe, are up later this year. I think is what I read, but again, it's not like it's something you can just go look up about WWE contract specifics. So yeah, WWE, by all accounts, will be losing 2 of the best tag teams they have on the roster, but they're not doing anything with them. The WWE tag team division is not a priority, or at least it doesn't seem that way on television. So some of your more predominant tag team wrestlers are looking for a way out, and if their contracts are coming up, they're not re-signing, is what it appears to be right now. So it'll be interesting to see where these guys land. I think if the Revival does land in AEW at the end of this year when their contracts are up, I think it'd be I think it'd be great, especially with the kind of the tongue-in-cheek rivalry that they kind of had with Cody Rhodes on the Being the Elite series on YouTube with the Young Bucks. Cody's tagline there for a long time was "F the Revival." That was just kind of his thing until they got slapped with a cease and desist and they couldn't say it anymore. But it was I definitely think that's something that'll be played off of heavily if they do move to AEW. So we'll have to see where these guys land. Some news from Impact Wrestling. Brian Cage is your new Impact World Champion, defeated Johnny Impact at the pay-per-view last week. We also saw the debut of Michael Elgin right after that championship match. Kind of had a little face-off with Brian Cage and hit him with an Elgin bomb. Cage was injured in the course of that match, suffered a back injury fairly early on in the match when Johnny Impact hit him with a Spanish fly off of the walkway to the floor. It was a scary looking spot. It looked very painful, and apparently it was, because Cage did suffer a back injury, but by all accounts it wasn't anything serious, so he should be back in action fairly soon. Like I said, he is slated to defend the Warrior Wrestling Championship next Sunday against Wardlow, so looking forward to seeing him then. Some Chris Jericho news. He will be, as announced yesterday, I think it was, he's going to be taking on Kazuchika Okada on June 9th at Dominion for the IWGP World Championship, or IWGP Heavyweight Championship, I should say. So that should be another fantastic 5-star match from Jericho, especially going against Okada. So yeah, I definitely want to check that one out. So getting into some of the bigger news items this week, Lio Rush has been very vocal on social media this last week, basically expressing his displeasure with WWE and his position within the company and things like that. And there's been a lot of people, a lot of people with things to say on both sides of the issue. Lio Rush basically saying, he doesn't want to follow the tradition of the younger guys kind of helping out the older guys, the veterans, things like that, as far as like carrying bags, getting water, things like that. And I kind of get it, but where he's coming from with it, I think, is what the problem is. If he was making some type of moral stand saying that us young guys in the WWE shouldn't be having to do these things, they're outdated and it's unnecessary, and things like that, and speaking for the group of the younger WWE stars, I could respect that. I could get behind that, because it is kind of an outdated tradition. But I actually saw people online referring to this as hazing and things like that. I'm sorry if you think being asked, not even being forced, not saying you have to, but being asked to follow a tradition of helping out the more established stars by carrying their bags, if you call that hazing, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you need to look up what the word means. I mean, hazing is somebody taking a dump in Jerry Lawler's crown when he first started with WWE. That's hazing, okay? And at that time, Lawler was an established veteran, so but he was new to WWE. That's hazing. Read up on some of the things that Dynamite Kid used to do to the young guys, or some of the stories about JBL. That's hazing. Saying, "Hey kid, would you carry my bag?" That's, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he should be doing it or he has to do that, but it's not anything degrading, or another person said, "Oh, they're trying to make him act like a slave." No, they're not. You need to look up what slavery is before you go throwing that word around. Okay, that's not something to be taken lightly or stated lightly. He's not being forced to do anything, because obviously he's not doing it. He's refusing to do it. But like I said, it's not about him taking some kind of moral stand. The man literally said, "I'm too big of a star to be seen carrying other people's bags." It's about his ego. I mean, it's an accepted tradition, and if you want to break from tradition, that's fine. Traditions are made to be broken at some point. I think all traditions need to be broken at some point, but that's not the issue here. He made it all about him, and he thinks he's too good to, do this kind of stuff. And if that's really what he thinks, I think he needs to go visit the New Japan dojo and see the things that the young boys for New Japan do. They live at the dojo. They do the cooking, they do the cleaning, they act as seconds for the established stars. They don't win matches at all. They might win one or two matches in their first year or two in New Japan, and even that, it's usually as part of a tag team. They don't get that spotlight on themselves as singles wrestlers until the higher ups feel that they have earned it. And and it's done for a reason. It's kind of like a military mentality where it's meant to humble you and teach you respect for the business and for the people that came before you. And it's called paying dues. It's not about hazing. It's not about degrading somebody. And if you listen to older wrestlers talk, whether they're carrying somebody's bags or they're doing the driving from town to town, it presents you with an opportunity to learn from these guys and for them to act as a mentor for you to just do little favors for them in return. It's a trade-off. Like, hey, I'll carry your bag for you. Can you talk to me about how my match was, or what can I do better? And that's the real point of it. It's a trade-off. You should, if you have any sense about you, if you are a young up-and-coming wrestler, you should be using whatever you can to gain knowledge and gain experience and show that you want to learn and become better. And talking to somebody like a Randy Orton or a Kurt Angle or somebody who's been in the business for 20 plus years, and if the only thing you do in return is carry their bag or fetch them a bottle of water every now and then, I think that's you're coming out on the winning end of that arrangement. So, but like I said, it's not like Lio is making some kind of big moral stand for all the young guys in NXT or, on the main roster, I should say. It's about his ego. It's about saying, I'm too big of a star to be carrying bags for other people and this and that. And I'm sorry, when it comes to WWE, Lio Rush is a fantastic wrestler. I'm not knocking his ability whatsoever. But when it comes to the WWE main roster, I'm sorry, he's a sidekick at best. He was Bobby Lashley's sidekick. That's all it was. He couldn't... they didn't keep him around in NXT for very long at all, and he couldn't keep his mouth shut there. He was, ridiculing wrestlers who had gotten released maybe a week after he got signed. It was probably longer than a week, but you get my point. And then he moved on to 205 Live, and I think he was fast-tracked to the main roster way too soon, and I think he's got a big head about him, and that's the core issue here. It's not, people online want to make it some big moral issue, and that's not the issue that Lio is making. He's making it about himself. I just said it a few minutes ago. I'll say it again. If he was taking a moral stand for the young guys in WWE, saying we shouldn't have to do these kind of things anymore, the tradition is old, it's outdated, it's unnecessary, I could get behind that if it was about we instead of about me on Lio's end. But it is what it is, and he's not endearing himself to anybody in the locker room, and obviously, as we saw this past week on Raw, he's not even a sidekick anymore. Apparently turned down a $300,000 a year contract, saying that he wanted double that. There's more established stars that don't make that kind of money. So he's and truthfully, he's being unreasonable, and he's not showing much maturity at all, in my opinion. Again, folks, this is all my opinion here, so if you disagree with me, hey, that's fine. This is, I'm entitled to my opinion, you're entitled to yours. If you feel like you need to speak out and say something about it, hey, great. All I ask is, do it respectfully. I'm not, trying to disrespect Lio Rush at all. Like I said, he's a fantastic in-ring performer. I just think he, his head is a little bit too big. His ego needs to be put in check, and he needs to learn how to be humble, because the stage that he's at in his career, he's only 24 years old. He's got a long way to go. But if he keeps rubbing people the wrong way and kind of ostracizing himself from the locker room, he's not gonna make any friends. He's not gonna have a very long career, because people are not gonna want to work with him. So hopefully this is something that can get worked out, and Lio can move on and show everybody how big of a star he can really be, because he's definitely capable of it. I have no doubt of that. So moving on to the other big issue of the week is a video that was released by Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose. And a lot of talk about this one online is, a lot of people still saying, oh, he's still with WWE, it's still at work. They got rid of Dean Ambrose and they're going to be reintroducing Jon Moxley. I seriously have doubts about that. I mean, the way that the video was made, it's not a WWE type video. The production quality of it was fantastic. I mean, it looks like it could have been filmed at a movie studio or something like that. So that's what made a lot of people say, oh, well, it was filmed by WWE. Then other people saying, well, AEW has the money to do something like that too. But a lot of people, I don't think, looked at the third option there, and that's that Moxley made the video himself. I mean, he's not, by all accounts, Moxley is very smart with money, doesn't live beyond his means, and he could have produced that video himself just to reintroduce the Jon Moxley character to the fans and to the let people know he's coming back to his indie roots. So let's kind of break down the video a little bit. I mean, the beginning showing him breaking out of jail, the little tick marks on the wall, counting down the days, and breaking the wall down, quote unquote. Then, by all accounts, the jail represents WWE and him breaking out. And then we see him, running through the yard, being chased by a big dog. So, a lot of innuendo there. And then we see him, walking through some city. Actually, it appeared to be Los Angeles, because he walked past the Viper Room, which is a popular club out there. And a lot of people keyed in on the Viper Room logo, which was on the wall, which shows basically a snake and a pair of dice. Then the dice show the numbers 2 and 5. A lot of people use that to make a connection to AEW's Double or Nothing show coming up on May 25th. But, that is just, it's the Viper Room logo. So it could be coincidence, or they could have chosen it for that exact reason. Who knows? We see him working out in a wrestling ring. Now, there was some type of logo on the mat in that wrestling ring, but I personally could not make out any specifics about that logo. A lot of people said it looked like an AEW logo because it was black and gold. I think that's a bit of a reach. Like I said, I personally couldn't make anything out of it, but I didn't sit there, going frame by frame, looking at it through a microscope, trying to make out what it is. I'm interested to see where this is going to go, and I'd like to be surprised, when he does show up somewhere. But a lot of the elements are just not WWE type elements. I mean, you see, the barbed wire, and you saw blood, and when they showed the shot of the ground, you saw the cigarette butts and broken beer bottles and blood dripping on the ground. That is not at all a WWE type of video. I mean, everybody knows WWE does not do blood. They don't do cigarettes. They don't do alcohol. They don't. It's the whole PG thing. Plus, there was no kind of branding in the video at all. I mean, if it was a WWE production and he was still with WWE, I think there would be something in it that tells you, he's coming back to WWE. But it wasn't posted on any wrestling Twitter page. It was on Moxley's own Twitter page, which he changed the name of the page from Dean Ambrose to Jon Moxley, deleted every previous post. This is last I checked, this video was the only post on that Twitter page. The Twitter page is now verified. It's got the little blue check mark that it is Jon Moxley's page. And anything WWE related is gone from that page. So, my thinking, if it was a WWE vignette, there would have been something that said WWE in there. Maybe not directly, but it would have been, there would have been something to let us know that this was WWE. But WWE has not, shared the video on their page. It hasn't showed up on any WWE social media or anything like that. So, I don't think WWE has anything to do with it. I mean, Jon Moxley, he is a hardcore wrestler. That's his thing. Go look up some of his pre-WWE videos on YouTube, and you'll see the type of wrestler that Jon Moxley is with CZW and things like that. And that definitely doesn't fit with WWE's image. They don't do the hardcore thing. And if they were to bring in Jon Moxley as a character, it would be so watered down that it wouldn't even be recognizable. Another thing, I don't see Jon Moxley giving up that identity, which he would have to do. WWE wants to own everything, so he would have to give up the rights to the Jon Moxley name, and he'd never be able to use it on the independent circuit ever again. for the most part. Now there are exceptions to that rule. People like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, they were allowed to keep their names, but Moxley, he pretty much gave that up when he made his way to WWE and became Dean Ambrose, and I can't see him giving up ownership over that particular piece of intellectual property, because that allows him to do what he's doing right now, is move back onto the indies and be himself and be that hardcore wrestler, because there's no way WWE's ever going to let him be that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the video was only on Moxley's page. It was no company referenced in the video. No company has shared the video, whether it's AEW or WWE or PWG or New Japan or CZW or anything else. There was no affiliation to anything that I could see in that video. Like I said, there's the dice showing the 2 and the 5, and people kind of keyed on that, like, oh, he's going to be a double or nothing. He lives in Vegas and stuff like that, and it's a possibility. I'm not throwing it out saying it can't happen, because it very well could. I think it'd be an awesome surprise to just have him kind of pop up during one of the matches and maybe challenge like a Jimmy Havoc or a Pac or something like that, or interfering in a match or something. But, I'm not going to say definitively that that's the case either. Like I said, there is the strong possibility that he produced this video himself just to kind of reintroduce the Jon Moxley character to the fans. And, since then, there's been some rumors that he could potentially be signing with Impact, which I could see. I could definitely see him as part of OVE with Sami Callihan, either with them or against them. He is from Ohio, so he would kind of fit right into that mix there. There's other stuff out there saying he's already got some indie dates lined up starting in June. There was another rumor I read that WWE actually did produce the video for him, with the hopes for him to go and, make himself even bigger on the indies and then eventually come back, kind of like what Drew McIntyre did when he left the WWE, became a huge independent star, came back to WWE, and his stock had risen, quite a bit, and he's in a much better position now than he was at the time when he left. I have doubts about that. I don't see... I just don't see it. I don't see WWE, putting the money into producing something like that for someone who's going to be wrestling outside their company. But, stranger things have happened. I'm not saying any of this stuff is impossible. I'm just saying I think it's improbable. So, bottom line is, we got to wait and see where Jon Moxley is going to pop up next. My feeling, yeah, I think he probably will show up in AEW. I think he would fit in very well there, especially with some of the things that are being said as far as the way AEW contracts work. Their stars are allowed to continue working on independents and working other dates and shows, like exactly like Chris Jericho, who's going for the New Japan Championship in June. Supposedly AEW is allowing their wrestlers a measure of creative control over their characters, which is something, by all accounts, that is very important to Moxley. So we'll have to just wait and see where he lands. I mean, he may just work the smaller independents that aren't on national TV. It wouldn't surprise me to see him pop back up in CZW, where he originally made his name, or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, or any one of the hundreds of indies that are out there that I'm sure would be glad to have him, and I'm sure he could get top dollar for those kind of appearances. So bottom line, it's another wait and see scenario. We got to see where he's going to pop up next, and I got to say, I'm excited to find out myself. I can't wait to see how this is going to play out and where we're going to see Jon Moxley. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this week. I want to just run down again, to make sure you check out the Patreon page. It's patreon.com/catchhookshoot. We've got 4 different tiers. We've got some what I think are some pretty good benefits on each tier. Not looking for outrageous amounts of money. I mean, the lowest tier is $1, the highest tier is $20, and you get some pretty good stuff for each one of those tiers. Also coming soon will be the Pro Wrestling Tees store, which will be prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot. We'll have some pretty cool t-shirt designs. Like I said, it's starting out with 4, so hopefully you guys will check that out once it's opened up, and I'll definitely post on social media once it goes live and the shirts are available. And yeah, like I said, check it out, pick up a shirt. They're all at the $19.99 price point, so it's not nothing unreasonable or outlandish or anything like that. So I hope you guys will check out both of those things. Again, it's patreon.com/catchhookshoot and prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot. Make sure you check out the Wrestling Behind Ringside podcast that dropped yesterday, May the 4th. Be having a chat with Cowboy Archie Coughlin on there. Like I said, we had a fun little chat, so check it out. I think you guys will enjoy it. I will also be taking part in the Wrestling Behind Ringside Hall of Fame episode that'll be coming up in a few weeks. And don't forget to check out WrestlingBehindRingside.com for information on their Fan Fest coming up on July 25th, 2020. It's gonna be a great time. Archie's been telling me about some of the plans he's got. I'm not gonna, you know, let any of those out quite yet. It's still over a year away, so it's still in the the beginning stages here. But the stuff that Archie has planned, it's going to be an awesome time. So if you can make it down to Hammond, Louisiana on July 25th, definitely plan on going. Again, it's WrestlingBehindRingside.com for the information on that. And thanks again to everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and live right here on Twitch. Now, next week, I will probably not be dropping an episode on Sunday because I will be at the Warrior Wrestling 5 event, taking part in the Fan Fest, which is from noon to 2, and bell time for the event is 2 p.m. Fan Fest tickets are $25. General admission seats to the wrestling event are $30, or start at $30, I should say, depending on where you want to sit. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a great time. Come on out, have some meet and greets, get some pictures taken with your favorite wrestlers, stop by the CHS table, and like I said, pick up some swag and get on the show. Talk about what matches you're there to see, what you're looking forward to, things like that. So next week's episode, if I'm able to get it out on Sunday, it won't be till later in the evening, or possibly not until Monday. So I won't be live on Twitch next weekend, but the following week I will be back live on Twitch at 3 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to make that pretty much standard going forward, so that the show is on as many platforms as possible. So yeah, make sure you're following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn. CatchHookShoot on all of those. And the email, as always, is catchhookshoot@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, critiques, something you'd like to see on the show, what you like, what you don't like, that kind of stuff, I'm open to hearing anything you guys got to say. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I hope everybody has a good week, and I will talk to you guys soon.